Remember this? It cut down that. But I don't want this to clean up the job. I want... Remember this. I've had a lot of comments wondering, hey, in the review, it looked pretty good. If you haven't seen that review, check it out now. This is one monster of a machine, but today, we're gonna find out, will it last? Because I got a fully charged battery, just sharpened the blade, we're full of oil. Will it last long enough to clean up this whole tree? Let's find out. I'm ready to start on the foundations of my tiny house, but I have a dead tree and it leans towards the construction site. I have to cut it down before I can get started. Otherwise, it will eventually fall on my tiny house. All right, it's time to cut this dead tree down. The key thing is it's dead, but it hasn't been dead a long time. So it's always important to remember, if you cut down a dead tree, it's going to react different than a live tree. Now this one hasn't been dead a long time, so it shouldn't be a big problem. But let's take a look at what we have here. The area is clean, and that's important. So we got this area clean, but it is leaning. As you can see, it clearly leans that away, which means it's going to fall right there where the strings are for my tiny house. I really don't want it to go there. It wouldn't hurt anything, but what I want to do is I want to test myself. I want it to land this way, which would be parallel to where that tiny house is at, which means that when I cut this, I'm going to have to make sure my hinge goes this way so that it forces it to fall this way. Now it leans so that it may not react, so I'm going to have to be careful. Could be a dangerous situation, but we're going to go careful. So the important thing is I'm going to cut my wedge, and I'm going to cut my wedge so that we hope it leans this way. We want to go almost halfway, and we want to leave about 2 inches for our hinge, and then we're going to come with our back cut, okay? And we hope it's going to fall that way. That's the plan. So why don't we get after it and see what we can do. We need to sharpen that blade. All right, took a few minutes sharpening. Let's hope it works a lot better. All right, we've got a good looking wedge, and that chainsaw cuts a lot better. So we actually have probably gone a little too deep, okay? And now we need our back cut, and I'm gonna leave about 2 inches for my hinge. And the hinge, the size really depends on the size of your tree. I'll go into detail on that on another video. Today, I just wanna see, can we make it fall the way I want to? And so I need to come with the back here, but I'm going to move the camera so we can watch it fall. As you can see, I'm barely touching the string. So all in all, I did pretty good, even though I didn't get it exactly parallel to my string. Because of the way it was leaning, it should have been really on top of my line, but I actually didn't even touch the line. Came real close. But really, if we take a look at our stump, you can see I cut too far from a wedge. And we can see that my hinge here was a good 2.5 inches on this end. But on this end, my wedge wasn't even a half an inch. And so it didn't, which wasn't too bad. If my wedge would have been larger here, it would have fallen a little more straight. But it wasn't. But I did have the strength here. But it was a rotten tree, so it's dry. And you know, a wet tree, you have more pull than you do a dry tree. But anyway, hey, I'm pleased. It didn't fall right on my strings. It is hovering about 2 inches off of the string though. Anyway, now it's time to get out that little bitty chainsaw, and we're gonna see how long will that battery last. We're gonna let that little bitty chainsaw cut up the majority of this tree. Right, I've only been a few minutes of really getting after it, okay? And it's doing great so far. However, this little blade guard got loose. So, hey, it's really a quick, easy fix, but it looks like it's gonna stay on there. It looks like it used to be right above it, but now it goes all the way down. So, however, chain guard is really not that important. I can't seem to tighten it so it doesn't ride the chain. I'm just gonna take it off. Like I said in the review video, this is made out of plastic, so now it's stripped out. So I don't know why, but the chain guard doesn't stay up like it's supposed to. But hey, not a deal breaker. Really don't need that chain guard. Chain got loose. That's every chainsaw. That's normal. But they give you all the tools you need to tighten it up, so that's what I'm gonna do. All right, it's tightened up. It's got that little bit of slack in it. Every chainsaw needs that. Let's go back to work. All right, we're getting after it with the chainsaw. We're getting after it, but the blade came off. No big deal though, that does happen. And which means it got loose pretty quick. But the automatic oiler seems to be working. And so I'm not pumping anything, should be working. Let's keep going, we'll tighten this baby up. Here's what I like. Even though the chain came off, this
little mini chainsaw is so easy to maintain. It's so easy. I mean, that little cover comes off. You know, the only challenging thing is that little screw has to go inside the little place in the bar, which pushes the bar back and forward when you tighten the chain. That's every chainsaw. So let's get back after it. It's a whole lot easier if you keep your eye on your blade to tighten it when it gets loose than to wait until the chain falls off. So just keep an eye on your blade. It's performing great. Time. I've cut a lot of wood and the first battery is dead. Now, I've just got to say, we have cut. Let me get over here. I'm going to have to show you how much wood we have cut with one battery. I am impressed. And right now, the only flaw was that little bitty chain guard that just wouldn't stay down and kept riding the blade. They didn't want it doing that, okay? So whatever piece was holding it broke off. It's just plastic. Really not a big deal because you don't need a chain guard for a chain knit small, right? However, I am impressed. So it's really doing great. Really, the only concern I have is that it's not really using much oil. And is it because it don't need much? Or is the automatic oiler not working properly? So I'm gonna just pump this bulb a little bit because it's important that your chain is always oiled and lubricated, okay? So I'm just a little concerned, but maybe it's working properly and I just don't know it. Goes it. That's the second battery. Now, I have got to say I'm impressed. 2 batteries, and I went through some pretty big wood. And really, this chainsaw was not designed to do that kind of job. But it did it, and it did a fabulous job. I went through 2 batteries, and the chain still is not dull. So I didn't have to sharpen it. Did notice that it's getting a little duller, but it's still cutting fabulous. This is unbelievable. It's time to clean up this mess. I'm having a bonfire tonight. Grab your apple juice. Why don't you come join me? We're gonna have some fun.
I can't think of a better way to end a hard day's work than to sit by the fire with a couple of girls. Nikki and my kitty cat make great companions while enjoying a fire and a fine glass of wine. I'll end this video by saying I think this mini chainsaw would be a great asset for anyone who needs such a versatile, easy-to-use mini chainsaw that, in my opinion, has very little cons in comparison to all the great features this chainsaw has to offer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, consider joining us in our members-only community, where you have direct access to me and many others who are just like you, either planning to come to Costa Rica or they're already in Costa Rica and they're sharing their experiences. You'll learn a lot and save thousands of dollars by learning from everyone in the community.